Be careful.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Vicki Iozia. I'm proud to be first president of the League of Women Voters. And I'm also proud because, God, we have such a wonderful board to work with. All the board members are not in here, are they? Who's here besides? Would our board members please stand up? Please give them a round of applause. They stop me from falling in potholes and doing stupid things, and I just appreciate them so much. What a team. I'm happy to see you here this morning, and you are in for a treat. Happy to have our guest speaker, and happy to have our candidates today. Please mute or turn off your cell phones and Apple Watches. I'm not wearing mine today, but I have turned the volume off. This meeting is being recorded. It will be on YouTube. The link will be in the newsletter. And it will be on our website. Anybody even know what our website is?
LWV.citrus.us.
Close. Very close. LWVcitrus.org. If you haven't been on it, please go on it. I do the newsletter. I do the website. I would appreciate if you'd go on it, and there's a spot. Oh, there's a spot to donate. There's also a spot for comments, so I would appreciate comments on it also. Would you stand, if you can, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. And you can sit down, take a minute for whatever prayers you would like to say silently. If you could put a prayer in for our board member, Jan Hall, who passed away, that would be great too. Okay, thank you. On your chair, you have one of these, and we call them reminders. Why do we do this?
Reminders.
To remind, yes, this is what it's participation time. Yes, because I don't know about you, but my brain could explode with all of the things that I have to remember. We have a membership drive that's going on that Linda Abels is working on. We also have a fundraising drive, and we want to thank everybody who has made donations to the League. Also, did you know that we have not one, but two scrapbooks for the League? You didn't know that, right? Well, Nora works on those scrapbooks now, and they're over here by the piano, and it gives a history of our League for the past couple of years, all of the meetings. So if you want to take a look at them later, please do. And you might want to take some notes on the back of this, because there's a test. There's a quiz coming up, a pop quiz. Remember the pop quiz? And your throat would go when the professor said that. Okay, we are not meeting on Wednesday, August 12th. That's our usual meeting time. Instead, we are going to meet on Saturday, August 8th. We will be here to commemorate the anniversary of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. 10 a.m. here at the library. And oh, who's going to be speaking?
Vicki?
No, not this time. Dr. B.J. Ezell is going to be speaking. And you're
Smart device. No meeting, interactive.
I love it. Interactive, participating. It's going to be good. Let's see who can answer these. I did not do this. I cannot take credit for this. Peg did it, but she told me to do it. So here it is. Remember to vote in the August primary election. These offices will be decided by primary. There are 3 of them.
District 2, District 4.
County commissioners. What else? Most of the judges, school board, and the Inverness and Crystal River mayors. Candidates for other offices are also on the ballot. And if you get the newsletter, the August newsletter is going to have sample ballots. We partner with Mo Baird, and we want to make sure everybody gets all the information. Okay. How many of you were at the forum last night? Oh, good. Okay. The last day to register to vote is?
July 20th.
Thank you. July 20th. The last day to request a vote by mail ballot is? August 6th. Early voting. I hope you're writing this on the sheet so you know. I don't want to have to give this test again. Early voting is from
August 7th, August 15th.
You're smarty pants today. Yes. Where is early voting? There are 5 sites, and you can find out at votecitrus.gov. What do you need to bring when you vote?
ID.
What kind of an ID? Photo ID with what? With signature. Okay, you're shy today. You're not shy. Primary voting day is?
August 18th.
Okay. Where do you vote?
Precinct.
See your voting card or the website, and once again, bring your photo ID with signature. You can find sample ballots at votecitrus.gov, and you'll also find it on the next newsletter.
Oh, so early voting, you can go to any early voting site. Voting day, you must go to your precinct.
Early voting, you can go to any site, but voting day, you must go to your precinct.
Yes.
Was I listening well? Okay, good. Today we will have our guest speaker first, followed by presentations. The candidates for District 23, Florida House of Representatives, as well as the candidates for Group 27, Judicial Court, 5th Judicial Court. Our guest speaker today is Don Wright, and to introduce him is our Natural Resources Chair Extraordinaire, Maxine Connor. He's going to speak up here.
No, I think, I can stand. You can stand. Okay,
Get this out of the way.
I can't stand on that stool because I'll be 10 feet tall.
That's not nice.
Good morning, everybody. I know most of you, but if you don't know me, Maxine Connor, your Natural Resources Chair. And today I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our speaker, Don Wright. He is Professor Emeritus of the Virginia Institute of Marine Science at the College of William and Mary. He holds a PhD from the Coastal Studies Institute at Louisiana State University. Now, Don has spent a lifetime doing scientific research, and he has authored countless research papers and co-authored a textbook entitled Tomorrow's Coasts, Complex and Impermanent. He spoke here about 3 years ago, I believe, and we had standing room only. In his early career, Don was a college professor of coastal studies at Louisiana State University. And then he was head of coastal studies unit at the University of Sydney, Australia. He's been dean and professor at the School of Marine Science and director of the Virginia Institute of Marine Science at the College of William and Mary. So more recently, though, Don served as Director of Coastal and Environmental Research at the Southeastern University Research Association, has an acronym of SURA, and that is a Washington, D.C. consortium of 60 universities. Don's received numerous accolades, including the 2017 Shepard Medal for Sustained Excellence in Marine Geology. He's a recognized authority on today's topic, which is understanding, anticipating, and adapting to climate change, 2026 storm threats, and the potential impacts on Florida's Gulf Coast. And being Gulf Coast community here, we really want to listen to his message this morning and see what we can do. He will present the most recent advances in understanding climate change and its possible impacts on our nature coast. And he will outline some realistic things that we can do to prepare. So after the presentation, we will have an open forum for questions, answers, and discussion. And on your chair, you will find two handouts. One is a possible letter that you could send to your congressional representative and your two congressional senators from Florida. And the other one is an explanation of the issue. And so we can talk about that during the discussion period, and we can answer any questions that you may have about that. We want to assist you because Don gave a presentation to our League of Women Voters of Florida Clean Energy Group, which I'm co-chair of, about a month ago. And the Natural Resources Chair said, what can we do? And so in response to that, I asked Don if he could help us come up with a template letter that you could send to your representative and your two senators from Florida, making them aware of the problem, which they already know. It's to do with the budget coming up and the budget cuts. And so we'll talk about that during discussion period. And for now, I give you Don Wright.
Well, good morning. I'm glad to be here again. And just before I start, I want to tell you that I'm not going to go into detail about how to prepare for the storm, because there's so much literature out there right now. If you go to the Citrus County Chronicle, they have an excellent thing on preparing for the storm, and you'll find the same thing in the Tampa Bay Times.
Like a lolly. Keep the message.
Get close.
You don't want me to lick that lollipop. The other thing I'm going to tell you is that if you have questions about any of this climate change stuff, there's a great source you can go to. And it is about a year ago, the NOAA people that were doing the climate change stuff were all fired. And the thing that they had going called climate.gov was shut down. The people that were fired got together, and for the last year, they've been working on creating another site that opened about 2 weeks ago, and it's called climate.us. That's all you need to know. Just click on climate.us. You can go in there, and it's much better, in my opinion, than climate.gov was a year ago. So that's a good place to go. That's a good source if you have questions. So the story I'm going to talk about today is not about surviving the storms. The literature that I just referred to will help you with that. What I want to talk to you about is the reality of what's really going on and why it's going on and what we can do to help fix things. There's a lot that needs to be fixed, of course, because there is a big problem. And the problem relates to the fact that we have to combat hot water. I don't know if you've been following the news, but in the last few days, there's been a super typhoon that hit Guam after crossing over a piece of ocean that was 88 degrees Fahrenheit in heat. That turns out to be the same temperature as the Gulf of Mexico right now, by the way. And hot seas make big storms. That just, so that's the problem. And the other part of the problem is we've got to convince some of our leaders and some of our politicians to help us legislate in a way that addresses these problems. And I think there are people that will help us there. We need to just let them know what our concerns are. Combating and adapting to climate change has to be addressed decisively and now. But for change to happen, leaders and decision makers have got to acknowledge the realities of climate change and step up to lead. Those who care should advocate for climate justice at every opportunity. We should speak out for future generations, and we must accelerate, not dismantle, climate, atmospheric, and ocean research. There's,
That's your phone, I'm afraid.
Hmm?
That's your phone, and is it in your pocket?
I'm not going to answer it. Well, ocean heat content is a key factor in the forecast of tropical cyclones. That's what we need to know most. The biggest thing, if you want to know what you need to know to predict a storm, the first thing you got to know is how hot's the ocean, because that is what provides the fuel to the storms. The amount of heat that's stored in the oceans is going up every year, and it reached a record high last year in 2025, and it's expected to rise even more this year. Global warming has got to be accepted. It's a proven non-political fact. It's not a hoax. We've got to prepare for, not deny, the coastal risks that lie ahead. Proposed dismantling of ocean and atmospheric research and climate monitoring infrastructure endangers all of us. This slide is showing you a picture of the Earth, and red means hotter than average. And the red is about 4 degrees Celsius hotter than average. The orange and the yellow are 2 to 3 degrees Celsius hotter than average. And it's averaged over the period of 2017 to 2021 in that picture there. You'll notice that the highest temperature rises are not in the tropics, they're in the high latitudes, in the Arctic, in fact. And the reason the Arctic is heating so fast is because the sea ice is melting, and the sea ice used to reflect a lot of the radiation. Now, the dark colored water is absorbing that radiation. And that's why the Arctic is heating something like 4 times faster than the rest of the Earth. Prior to 1980, the amount of heat that was absorbed by the Earth was roughly balanced by the amount re-radiated back to space. It comes in as ultraviolet radiation, goes out as infrared. But nowadays, there's a serious imbalance. The incoming energy significantly exceeds the outgoing energy, and there's an excess of energy, and it's being stored in the ocean. 90% of this excess energy is stored in the oceans and only 1% in the atmosphere. But the heat is transferred from the sea to the air annually. And the overheated seas transfer large amounts of energy to larger and more intense tropical cyclones. Now, what I'm showing you in this slide here is, if you look at the horizontal axis on here, that's years. It starts in 1960 and it goes until 2021. And what you're seeing every year is the amount of heat that is added to the ocean. This is averaged over the world. The blue is the amount of heat that is absorbed and stored in the ocean. The lighter colors are in shallower water, the darker colors are in deeper water. The brown is what's absorbed and stored by land, not much of it. And the amount that's absorbed and stored by the atmosphere is only less than 1%. So most of it's in the water. But you notice it didn't start changing very much until around 1980. Up to that point, what came in eventually went out before the end of the year. Not anymore. Now, the way that we know how much heat is being stored is because of programs, one of which was ordered shut down, but was restarted about 2 weeks ago. And that was one I'm going to show you in just a moment. But there are floats that measure temperature down to a depth of about 2 kilometers below the surface. All of that heat's not stored right at the top. It's throughout a big, deep water column. That's how it can have so much heat. Now, if you look at the units of heat that are on this little diagram here, on the vertical axis, it goes from 0 to 400. And this is based on amount of heat since about 1980. The 0 is 1980 when it was balanced. It's not balanced anymore. But the units are going to blow your mind. They're called zettajoules. Zetta, as in Z-E-T-T-A, joules. A joule is a unit of energy. 100 joules is like 100 light bulbs in terms of energy, roughly that thing. But a zettajoule is 1 billion trillion joules. That's a whole bunch of energy. And it turns out that the amount that was accumulated last year in 2025 was something like 23 zettajoules. Now, to put that in perspective, all of the energy that was consumed throughout the entire world from all sources, that means from heating and air conditioning and jet fuel burned and cars operated, all of that stuff added up to 0.6 of a zettajoule. That was all the consumption of energy last year. So the whole of humanity in the world. Turns out that the amount of heat that was added to the ocean in that same period of time was something like 39 to 40 times the amount that was consumed by the world. It's a lot of energy. What you see here is a surface mooring that was maintained by the National Science Foundation in a program called the Ocean Observatories Initiative. In early June, NSF was ordered to start dismantling that program. They began that process. But then a letter was written by 10 senators protesting that decision. And so it was reinstated about a week ago. So the OOI has now been reactivated and is still ongoing. And it funds a bunch of these buoys like the one you see here. But they're floating at the surface, they're not sinking. And you want to also know how much heat is going down to at least 2 kilometers below the surface, because that's where it's held stored. And so that's being done with a program called Argo. You remember a few years ago there was a television show or a movie called Jason and the Argonauts. Argo was named after Jason's ship, which was Argo. And so they call this program Argo. What you see there going in the water is a buoy, it's a float, and there's 4,000 of those in the ocean right now in the world, because it's not just the U.S. It's about almost 10 different countries. Australia and the European Union in particular are heavily involved. And the U.S. provides a full 50% of Argo's current budget. And if you read the OMB request for the 2027 budget, they want to completely eliminate that. And that's one of the things we want to put in that letter that we ask people to send. Please don't do that. Don't. I'll show you how that works. The 2027 budget request would terminate all of the U.S. contributions to the Global Ocean Observing System, which is part of the way the Argo program is funded. Now, what happened here, you can see this in this slide, the Argo floats is put in the water. You saw what they're not that big. A person can lift it easily and go in the water. But then it sinks. It's programmed. It's a robot. It sinks down to about a kilometer, about 1,000 meters. And then it drifts for 10 days. And it records where it is and what the speed it's moving. And then after 10 days, it sinks down another 1,000 meters to 2 kilometers. As soon as it gets down there, it starts ascending. On the way up, it measures temperature and salinity. And that's how we know how much heat is in the upper part of the water column, because these things are recording. Okay, now this diagram here looks a little bit awkward, I know. It's a result of a study that was published about 3 months ago, and it was done with a team from the Chinese Academy of Sciences and the European Union collaborating together. It turns out that most of America's research on climate was halted last year. By climate, I mean long-term observations. I don't mean short-term forecasts. But what you see here in the red, that's, again, on the horizontal axis, those are years going right up to 2025. And every year you see there's more heat in the water than there was the year before. It's going up every year. The Chinese Academy of Sciences had an estimate going up to last year, so it hit about 300 zettajoules of the total accumulation. The second thing by the European Union showed it going up to about 350 zettajoules. But just to reiterate, that's 39 times the amount of energy in 1 year that's accumulated. 39 times the amount that was consumed by the world. And more is expected this year. The amount of heat is stored in the upper part of the water column. That means the upper 2 kilometers. And all of the red that you see on this, I'm not going to go into detail, all of the red is hot. And it's overheating. Mm-hmm. And the places that you see where the most serious overheating are in the Western Pacific. And if you look closely in the Gulf of Mexico and the southern and part of the Atlantic, or the southern part of the Atlantic coast of the U.S. Those are hot places. Now I'll just show you one other thing. This is a satellite image. You can get this online from the NOAA site. Sea surface temperature. It's updated daily. So if you want to keep track of what the threat of a storm might be, look at these things frequently. What you see there right there was I made this about a week ago on the 1st of July. The temperature in the southeast part of the Atlantic, southwest part of the Atlantic, around Florida, was 88 degrees Fahrenheit. It's gone up probably another degree since this picture was taken, but it's hot. When Hurricane Helene came through back in 2 years ago, the Gulf water temperatures were just a little bit over 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which means it's putting a lot of fuel into the air. The website is on this picture, by the way, down at the bottom. In blue, you'll see, if you click on that, you can get this information. Now, I should have told you at the beginning that all the slides I'm showing you now are on a PowerPoint presentation, but I've created that, I've converted that to a PDF that's not as big. In fact, I think it's about 5 or 6 megs or something like that, but it's something I can send you as an email attachment. If anybody wants those slides, send me an email. My email address is ldwright@bellsouth.net, and I'll be happy to send you that whole slide set. You can use it any way you like. I'm not sending you anything that's copyrighted. So hot seas make bad storms, and the average temperature of the Earth in 2025, last year, we don't know what the average is for this year yet. We're only halfway there. But last year, it was hotter than it has been in the last 100,000 years. The tropical cyclone size, intensity, and rapidity of development are increasing, largely because of rising sea surface temperatures. They're really fast. Some of them are really, really fast. Hurricane Otis that hit Acapulco 2 years ago, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, went from a tropical storm to a Category 5 hurricane in one day. That makes it impossible to get advance warnings put together. It's just too fast. And that rapidity of formation of these storms is one of the outcomes of hot water. They cause the rapid intensification of Ian, of Otis, of Beryl, Helene, and Milton in 2024. 2025, we had 4 major hurricanes, but none of them made landfall in the U.S., fortunately. They stayed out in the Atlantic. Now, one of the things that happens with these big storms, the thing that is really deadly is storm surge, the flooding that's caused by onshore winds. And what you see here in red, this is the National Hurricane Center Storm Surge Risk Assessment. And the red means potential inundation of at least 9 feet or more, not above sea level, but above ground level, local ground level. And the areas that are in red around the west coast of Florida, you'll notice they extend as much as 5 miles inland from the coast. Now, you might also notice, if you look over around Miami, you don't see any red. Now, why is that? The reason is quite simple. The West Coast the Gulf Coast is fronted by a very wide and very low gradient continental shelf. And that amplifies the storm surge. Miami is very, very narrow. In fact, that's used to be one of my favorite diving places. It was Pompano Beach, because you didn't have to go very far out in the boat till you were in a couple hundred feet of water. You get the same depth in the Gulf Coast. Up here, you just got to go all half a day to get there. And that's what amplifies the storm surge. For Miami, a lot of that energy that would have been involved in the storm surge actually gets reflected back out to sea because of that steep shelf. Now this shows what the effects of a landfalling hurricane Ian did to the coast. What happened, if you remember, Ian made the landform around Port Charlotte, near there. To the north of that, Tampa had been anticipating a potential flooding in Tampa Bay. Exactly the opposite happened, because it was on the north side of the storm. And so the wind was blowing offshore from land to sea. It actually pushed water out of Tampa Bay. But south of there is where you see the red, and that's where the high storm surge came, where it was manifest was to the south. Here's Helene making landfall in the Big Bend. And this was in September 2024. And this is the storm surge that Helene made on the Nature Coast. And you're looking at over 5 miles inland of depths of over 9 feet above the ground level. Well, here's what NOAA is now predicting, that there's a developing El Nino that could push temperatures to unprecedented highs later this year. Fortunately, it is also saying that it will create wind shear that could suppress Atlantic hurricanes. But it turns out, if you look carefully at what they describe, it does not suppress Gulf of Mexico hurricanes. This is a satellite image of the Pacific, particularly the eastern part of the Pacific. The dark red is already hot. This was taken about a week ago, and the dark red is hot. It's over 88 degrees Fahrenheit in temperature. And that was one of the things that fueled a storm that just happened. Lavia was the name of the super typhoon that is now headed for Taiwan. It's already hit the Marianas, it's hit Guam and Saipan. Guam and Saipan are both U.S. territories. That was on Monday, the day before yesterday, when Bobby made landfall in the Western Marianas. So there are 3 general types of actions that need to be undertaken. The first, of course, we've all known this, we've heard it for years, we need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And they have steadily declined since 2007. Not fast enough, but better than nothing. We also need to design and fund and implement regionally specific adaptation strategies. And those have to be regionally specific. And that means that some localities have more resources than others. And we're doing pretty well here, by the way. It's long been understood that reductions of greenhouse gas emissions are fundamental. But the third thing we have to do is communicate the need to the public and the policymakers And that's turning out to be the hardest part of all, especially policymakers, because it's an ideological resistance to understanding that climate change is really, really real. And when you look at the heat, how can you deny it? I mean, it's just impossible to deny it. It's hot. Hot is hot. We know how to reduce it. This stuff works. By the way, there was an article in the New York Times that said that this was about, I think it was back in April or maybe May, and it said that the New York Times reported that Chinese solar panels are literally the cheapest form of energy that we have ever had on Earth. Nothing is cheaper. Coal is not cheaper. Now, for building coastal resilience, Citrus County is now doing a pretty good job of that. They've joined forces with Tampa Bay Area Resilience Plan. They've submitted a proposal that's out for review. Hopefully it'll get funded. And if it does, it will be a 3-year project that enables them to do a pretty thorough job of resilience planning. These are some of the actions that need to be taken to make a region resilient. First of all, the most important is to facilitate accurate and timely forecasts, not to kill the programs that do the forecast, but to amplify them. And then connecting that science to policymakers is probably second in importance. Establishing regional collaboration. Citrus County is doing that pretty well. Planning and communicating evacuation routes, etc. Maintaining effective drainage infrastructure. But most importantly, the thing that's not happening enough now is sustaining support for climate research. It's being cut dramatically. And the people that do it are being fired in large numbers. Accurate and timely predictions of storms and storm surges are the most important elements of coastal resilience and community safety. Just science saves lives. Denial is deadly. And just to give you a little summary of some of the cuts that have already been implemented. 2025 support for research by NASA, NOAA, EPA, and NSF was severely cut, and a whole bunch of scientists were fired. Some of them are coming back. Many of them have gone to Europe and Australia, and they're getting paid more than they did when they were here.
Appreciate it.
And this is remarkable. The 2 satellites, one of them is on the space station, but the other one is an orbiting satellite that were put in orbit by NASA to measure atmospheric carbon dioxide. They were ordered, one of the satellites was ordered to be destroyed. It was not destroyed. They haven't done it yet, but the order is still out there. That it should be destroyed because it's supporting climate alarmism. So I'll just sort of sum up with this. While the U.S. is curtailing research, China and Europe are increasing investment in climate research and the use of clean energy. Clean energy totaled 50% of China's energy last year.
Wow.
Full 50%. Now, of course, they've got more than just wind and solar. They've also got a lot of hydroelectric. For example, the big Three Gorges Dam is clean energy as well. But the ocean, there's a new initiative by the European Union It's called Ocean Eye, as in eyeball. And it's making EU, the European Union, is already surpassing us. We used to be the boss. We're being quickly surpassed by China and the European Union. So what I'm asking, please advocate and vote for climate justice and make your congressional representative promote the use of clean energy to help slow the rate of global warming. Also, please ask them to support the acceleration, not the dismantling of climate science and observations. And that's what that little letter that we've handed out is asking. But if you want to send a letter to your representatives, there's a text here you can use. You can modify it any way you like. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Now that we're all thoroughly depressed, do you have any questions, Don?
Let's see a bunch of me.
Press you, I had a newsletter, and I don't know if it's accurate, but I'm just hopeful that our country has actually, in the first part of 2026, our energy consumption is 30% from renewables. So it's not all doom and gloom, but we can't give up.
Oh, we are on the right track. We have
Right.
Yeah.
Do this.
Yes.
Do you have any prepared talking points for youth? For example, next week, my Girl Scouts will be meeting with Gus Bilirakis, and as of 30 minutes ago, Ashley Moody.
What was it now?
Next week, we have a meeting with Gus Bilirakis, my Girl Scouts do, and as of 30 minutes ago, we now have a meeting with Ashley Moody.
Excellent.
Good. Great. I met Gus in his office in DC about 3 or 4 years ago. And by the way, one of the things, because I'm a diver, I was very impressed. His father was one of the original sponge divers in Tarpon Springs. And when you walk into his office, he has a giant sponge. It must be about 4 feet across in diameter. And it's hanging over his secretary's head. And on his desk, he has a nice shiny brass diver's helmet that belonged to his dad. So,
Do you have talking points already prepared for youth, though? Because like this runs on right along with what my girls wanted.
what day is your meeting?
Middle school and high school.
No, what day?
Oh, Wednesday, the
A week from
22nd.
today?
The 22nd.
Or
So
the
not
20?
next Wednesday. the
2
week
weeks
after.
from
It's
today.
actually 2 weeks, yeah.
I can send you something. Send me an email. Listen, here's what, and I'll say it again. Send me an email and I'll send you a PDF of all the slides I just showed. And you can use those in your classes if you want.
Could you repeat your email again?
Yes, LD
D.
D as in Don, Wright at bellsouth.net.
WRIGHT.
Yes.
Yes.
If one zettajoule is worth 288, or valued 288 billion watt hours, how can we use that energy to first cool down the ocean and then use the energy for the bubble?
Well, if you can find an answer to that, you'll be a multi-billionaire.
Get in.
Okay. I'm sure there are theories out there, but making them operational might be a challenge. It is a big challenge because it's a lot of energy.
Yeah. You use convection, think about cold water, you bring it up to the top and then generate it.
That's right. Go ahead.
Okay.
So I see you mentioned certain hurricanes, but you didn't mention Milton.
Well, I did.
Okay.
Milton was, it turns out that Milton was a category 5.
Yeah.
And Milton I cut this out because I wanted to stay within 30 minutes.
Oh,
But I had some pictures from Cedar Key. Milton did a real number on Cedar
Yeah.
Key. And they did that. They haven't recovered yet from that dam.
so the problem is that this area, Crystal River, inland to Inverness, they're not preparing. We're not preparing for this, for the future of category 5s hitting this area.
And the reason you're not prepared for it is because it's been many years since we had that problem.
That's
And
what
people have
happened.
become complacent. They need to be convinced. Well, Milton should have convinced a lot of people. I'm sure it did. I know that some of the people at Cedar Key were well and truly convinced because they still haven't recovered. But it turns out Milton, by the way, was not only big here, it was the biggest tropical cyclone in the world in 2024.
Didn't it go up to North Carolina?
No, that was Helene that did that.
One question about tornadoes in the Midwest and in Oklahoma. How much is that influenced by what you're talking about? I mean, there's huge devastation going across Oklahoma and Arkansas and that whole area. This whole period of time.
The thing is, it very likely is connected, but so far we don't know what the connection is. The tornadoes have not yet been shown to be a consequence of climate change. But the other thing about tornadoes is tornadoes are or were a topic of serious research until last year. And the shutdown of some climate research programs that were making progress in being able to predict tornadoes was stopped. Hopefully, that's one of the things we need to try to get back up again. And that should be a priority. Yes.
You mentioned complacent before, and we got a little complacent here because we have freshwater springs that kept our citrus waters a little bit cooler, and we were all told that hurricanes don't like cooler water. How our springs are not producing what they used to produce in the 60s and 70s. And is that any part of this reconstruction problem?
Well, the problem is that
water?
the volume of water that the springs produce is just really too small to make a big impact compared to the ocean. And when I talk about ocean temperatures, I'm not just talking about local ocean. I'm talking about the world. And that, when you average that, the amount of water we're talking about is just inconceivable, really. But if the water's cooler, and I would encourage people to look at that temperature map frequently, because it is very informative. If you see the temperatures rising above 32 degrees Celsius, which is about a little over 90 degrees Fahrenheit, then beware. Those things could happen. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Once more, please. Don, thank you for making that information so understandable that even I understood it. And yes, we are all going to die someday. But personally, I'm going down fighting. When Maxine and I were talking about this, I said, let's let everybody leave with a letter in their hand so that they have this information. So please raise your hand if you're going to use that letter to write to our elected officials. Do I see any hands that are not up? I better. Please do that because literally our lives depend on it. Thanks so much, Don. Now we will proceed to the second part of our meeting. Our meet and greet. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization, which means that we do not endorse political candidates. We appreciate that the candidates are here with us today because you folks have been all over the place, all over the county. Every time I read the paper, these candidates have accepted the invitation to introduce themselves and talk about their plans. These introductions will be a maximum of 3 minutes long. I'll be timing and I have the paddles. So you will see the yellow paddle at 2 minutes and you will see the red paddle at 3 minutes. At 3 minutes, please stop or I'll shake it. And if I shake it, we will not discuss the consequences at this time. After introductions, each participant will be at their own table space and will answer individual questions. And I see you've already been up there talking to them before the meeting. The order of candidates is by the date where they're qualified to run. Our first candidates are going to be for State Representative District 23. And our first candidate is Tod Cloud.
So it's a nice background for me, so don't worry about it. It's almost like you're in the cloud.
Wait till I get my phone. Okay.
Good morning. My name's Tod Cloud. I'm State Representative District 23. I'm going to skip the background because we only have 3 minutes, so I'll get into a couple issues that are very important to me. Number one, very important to me, is campaign reform. Basically, we need to get and take the money out of politics. I had a what do you call it there? A vision there when somebody called me and told, asked me to do a survey, and they're talking about all the different problems there were as far as homelessness, affordable housing, the economy, everything. And it got down to me when I got to the end of the list, I had to tell the man, all of them are a problem, but the biggest problem is campaign reform. Taking the money out of politics, getting rid of the PACs and the super PACs, and also the special interests. Now, so if we change that, I'm telling you, we can change the world. The second issue that I have is making sure we keep the nature in the nature coast, not just the nature coast here in Citrus County, but for the whole state of Florida. Now, one of the first things that I will actually try and accomplish is to get FWC from spraying all that paraquats, or to put it in layman's term, your grass killer. Yeah, any kind of poison that they're spraying, but they're spraying all kind of stuff in our waterways, killing the vegetation, killing the fish, and everything else that's in the water. Not only do we need to stop FWC from doing that, but we also need to stop the power companies from spraying the same herbicides that kills the grass, the bugs, and the animals that are near it. There's ways to do it, but just like anything else, we want to stop
and make it easier so it's easier to spray stuff on there instead of cutting it or harvesting it and keeping our waters nice and clean. So those are the two issues that are important to me. There's many more issues that I worry about, but I will go now to myself since I got less than a minute. Again, name's Tod Cloud, born and raised in Wilmington, Delaware. 17, I dropped out of high school, went to the Marine Corps. When I got honorably discharged from the Marine Corps, I went to work for factories, and the main one I worked for was General Motors for 10 and a half years, which I belonged to a union, which was the United Auto Workers 435. From there, I moved to the state of Florida. When I moved to the state of Florida, dang, from doing all this campaigning, I found out I was poor. Because when I moved to, dang, I can't run the stop signs.
Next candidate is the incumbent, J.J. Grow.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is JJ Grow, and I'm your state representative, and paraquat is illegal to spray in the water. So that's already taken care of. I grew up here in Citrus County, went to Citrus High School. When I graduated, I was a state FFA officer for 1 year. For those of you who know Future Farmers of America. After that, I went to Gainesville. I graduated from the University of Florida with a degree in food and resource economics. And then I went to work. My wife, Jen, who's in the back, we raised our family here in Citrus County. We started a business here. We did well, we worked hard, and then we gave back to our community, not just for a couple of years, but for the last 25 years. I used my education and my 34 years of business experience to make good things happen in Tallahassee for our community and for the state of Florida. My first term after you elected me in 2024, I fought hard for you, for your families, for the conservation that we have in our community, and for the conservative values that I believe make Florida one of the strongest states in the nation. We got a lot of work done in the first term. We passed multiple bills. We brought back millions of dollars to the community for local projects, and we provided constituent services for hundreds of families and businesses here in our community. I'm running again because there's still a lot of work that has to be done. I want to continue fighting for affordability. I believe that's one of the biggest issues facing Florida. We need to find a way to reduce property insurance as well as auto insurance. We also need to find a way to continue cutting taxes, and property taxes is one of the ways that we're going to do that. I stand with law enforcement and firefighters because I want to ensure we have safe communities. I stand with our veterans and I fight for them because they fought for us. And again, I steward our conservation. I think it's one of the most important things to our community. I've served on conservation boards around the country for multiple years, so I understand conservation and I'll continue fighting for that. I also fight for public schools, making sure that we're educating our kids because I believe all of our kids have a right to a great education. So those are the things that I will continue fighting for, along with farmers and ranchers. If any of you know my background, that's the industry I come from. So I'll make sure that they have the resources they need. But on top of that, I'll also make sure we continue Florida Forever, as well as the Rural and Family Lands Act. My promise to you is I will work just as hard in my second 2 years as I did in my first 2 years to make good things happen in Tallahassee for you, for your families, and for our community. Again, my name is JJ Grow. I'm asking for your vote, and I promise to work hard for you. God bless you and your families and our community. Thank you.
Appreciate the presentation.
And our next speaker is Mark Baker.
Kind of that cloud. All right, I don't do this as often as they do, so I have to read my. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Baker. I'm running for Florida House of Representatives, District 23. I'm grateful to be here with the League of Women Voters, an organization that has spent more than a century defending democracy, empowering voters, and emphasizing the importance of factual, informed civic engagement. I've lived in Florida for more than 30 years. I've been in Crystal River for 2 decades. I've worked in hospitality, engineering, real estate, even a teacher. But today isn't about my resume. It's about the issues that affect people across Florida. Education, property taxes, and affordability. Education remains one of Florida's most pressing challenges. Florida ranks dead last in the nation for teachers' pay. Each year, we lose roughly 1/3 of our teachers. We celebrate a 92% graduation rate, and yet national assessment placed Florida 44th in 8th grade reading levels and 48th in adult literacy. Am I too loud for you, ma'am?
That's just mind-boggling.
A growing number of students now graduate from schools that require no accreditation. This shifts public funding away from traditional public schools and raises questions about long-term educational quality and workforce readiness. I see this every day. We should severely modify voucher systems. Let's talk about property tax voodoo. When tax reductions are applied unevenly, essential services like police, fire, rescue, roads, emergency responses face budget pressures. Lower taxes for homesteaded properties can shift costs towards renters, small businesses, agricultural, and commercial landowners. That often means higher rents and higher fees. Sudden caps of exemption create chaos for local governments, forcing rapid budget adjustments or emergency revenue measures. Stop that. Affordability, a problem that we all recognize, affects every part of daily life in Florida. Families face rising costs of housing, insurance, utility, transportation, and healthcare. Grocery prices and monthly bills reflect broader economic pressure that Floridians feel every day. Let's go to Publix. When I'm in the legislature, I will vote to fix these cost drivers, reform the insurance market, cap predatory fees, and restore local control so that communities like Citrus County can manage growth responsibly. Florida stands at a crossroads. Education, quality, tax structure, and cost of living pressures shape whether families can remain in their communities and whether local governments can provide essential services. The League of Women Voters has long emphasized that informed citizens strengthen democracy. All right, well, thank you very much. Okay.
Most of our judge elections are not contested, but we have two candidates for circuit judge, Fifth Judicial Circuit, Group 27. And first candidate that's going to come up is Nicole M. Morris.
Not gonna use the stool because I'm tall enough, I think.
Sure.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Nicole Morris, and I am running for circuit judge. If I hear you, can you not hear me? All right, gotcha. Grab it. Is that better? Okay, I'll use my outside voice too. Like I said, my name is Nicole Morris, and I am running for circuit judge. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and giving me the opportunity to really tell you. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
One more time.
Just letting me have this opportunity to speak with you and telling you a little bit about myself and why I'm running for circuit judge. So I grew up just down the road in Lake County, Florida, but for the last decade, Citrus County has been my home. I began my legal career here in Citrus as a prosecutor where I handled everything from misdemeanors up to felonies. It was actually at the state attorney's office that I met my husband, Brian, and together we're the proud parent of our son, Liam. So after doing about 5 years as a prosecutor, I decided to leave and I joined the public defender's office because I wanted a broader understanding of our justice system and the different perspectives that come before our courts each day. Along the way, I've handled, like I said, misdemeanors, but I've also handled some very serious felony cases, which include participating and co-counseling on death penalty cases. And throughout this time, I've built a reputation as being prepared, professional, and fair. Today, I actually serve as the Chief Assistant Public Defender in Citrus County. And in that role, I have my own docket, but as well as I supervise 6 other lawyers and lead the day-to-day operations of the office. Every day, I'm called upon to analyze difficult legal issues, manage challenging cases, and make important decisions that affect everyone's life or affect people's lives every day. And those experiences have reinforced something that I've come to appreciate over the course of my career. And that's being an effective judge requires careful preparation, sound judgment, and the discipline to follow the law faithfully. My experiences on both sides of the courtroom has taught me that, regardless of the type of case that brings people into court, those people want the same exact things. They want a judge who is prepared and who listens to them, who treats them with dignity and respect, and most importantly, who always follows the law. These are the principles that have guided my entire career, and they're the principles that I will bring with me to the bench. And that's why I'm running for circuit judge, because I believe our courts need judges who not only possess the legal skill and temperament needed to do the job well, but also the integrity to follow the law every single time. And after practicing in this circuit for more than a decade, I believe I have that experience, judgment, and temperament necessary to be that kind of judge. If elected, I will continue to work hard every day, listen carefully, ensure that every person who enters my courtroom receives a fair hearing. I will uphold the Constitution and administer justice with integrity, impartiality, and respect. Again, thank you guys so much for coming out and listening to me speak today, and I'd be honored to earn your vote on August 18th.
I don't need the steps to leave. I don't need the steps to leave. If she's here, our next candidate is Lisa Yaeger.
I can tell you, I surely don't need that step stool. Sorry. Are we ready? Okay. First of all, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a 6th generation Floridian. I was born and raised in Kissimmee. I've lived in Florida my entire life. I'm a 1st generation college student. I put myself through school at the University of Central Florida, where I received my bachelor's degree in 1993. I received my law degree from University of Florida in 2000. I moved to the 5th Circuit, which includes Marion, Citrus, Sumter, Hernando, and Lake counties. In 1999, I moved to Citrus County in 2001, where I remained. I'm a parent. I have 2 children. My son, Christian, is a 2020 graduate of Citrus High School. He's an apprentice lineman. He's working all around the country building substations. And my daughter is a 2022 graduate of Citrus. She's a 25 graduate of the University of Tennessee, and she's in the Army. She's stationed out in Kansas. So I'm a proud mom. We raise our children with the same conservative values that we were raised with. I think that has set them up, to give them a good start for their future. They're both doing very well. As I like to say, they're off mom's payroll. So that's a good thing. Why should you elect me? First of all, I'm committed to my faith in God, my family, and serving my community. My entire career, all 26 years, has been spent here in the 5th Circuit. I've 16 years I was with the state attorney's office total. I started as an intern in 2000. So I've handled a wide variety of cases. As an intern, you start off in misdemeanor. I've worked my way up to felony. I have supervised misdemeanors attorneys down in the Hernando office. My last docket was handling the crimes against children and sex crimes docket here in Citrus County. Juvenile delinquency, mental health court, things like that. I was in private practice for 10 years where I handled civil cases, both on the county side and circuit side. I've done criminal defense, family law, dependency, delinquency. I was even appointed several times as an attorney ad litem. I'm the only candidate that has handled more than just criminal law. Why is that important? This is a civil docket that we're going to be handling. This is not going to be a criminal docket, and I'm the only one with experience outside of the criminal courtroom. Of course, I will follow the law and the Constitution. If someone as a judicial candidate stands up and says that they won't, they're crazy. The best judge is the one you rarely ever hear about. It would be my honor and privilege to serve as a 5th Circuit judge. I'm always available to speak with everybody. Like I said, we have our tables here. Just reach out. We do have our Facebook page, of course, and a website. but reach out, talk to me. I would love to have you come out on August 18th and earn your vote. Thank you very much.
Can we have a round of applause for all of the candidates? And thank you all for coming. We have some announcements from board members. Board members, would you please come up to the lectern to deliver your announcements?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jean Messersmith. I am a secretary of the League of Women Voters here in Citrus County. Yay! More than that, we have just been celebrating 250 years of democracy, of republic, Declaration of Independence. We use that theme to fundraise. The $75 that goes to your membership, if you are a League of Women voter and member, you can also be it as if you are a man too. So a quarter of our members are men. So $75, only 15 of that comes back to us as a Citrus County. We do a lot of information here, information sending out to people. We do a lot of speakers bureau. So what we are doing is celebrate 250 with a donation. If you are interested in doing that, I am saying $250 isn't too much. I challenge you to put $250 in our coffers. So if you could pick this up with me afterwards, celebrate 250 and our continuation of Citrus County League of Women Voters. Okay, thank you.
Hi, everybody. Maxine Connor again, your Natural Resources Chair. Just a little note on those two pieces of paper you found on your chair. So the letter that Don, I asked Don to draft the letter for me because I wasn't, he's the expert and I felt like I couldn't do it justice. So he provided the template for us and I really appreciate that, as well as your talk today. It was awesome. So the way I made the letter out is if you live in Citrus County, your senators would be Scott and Louis, and then your representative would be Bill Arrakis. So I had that at the top of the letter. If you're out of the county, there's a link on the other sheet of paper that starts with the budget request explanation. There's a link right down at the bottom. You can put your address there in and find your representative and find your senator. So if you have any questions on these letters, just let me know. I mean, they're well written by Don, the letter itself, and Don helped me with the explanation as well. So you can click on the link on that other sheet about the budget request, and you can actually look at that 96-page proposed budget for the U.S. Congress, and you can look and see what the cuts are. And it really sounds like a big, heavy document, but I read through it really pretty quickly because each page doesn't have a lot on it. So, but there's lots of cuts. So if you have any questions, just let me know. And thank you very much again, Don, for doing that for me. Us, all of us.
Good morning. It's still morning, right?
Yeah.
I don't have an announcement. I've got someone that I want you to hear from who has a personal encounter that is very meaningful to our county. I'm Dr. B.J. Ezel. My background is healthcare, 50 years a nurse, and a doctorate in public health. We have a huge drug problem still in this country, that 100 plus people are dying every day from opioid overdoses. And there is a way to rescue them and help them get to rehab. I want Bonnie to come forward, please, and I'll hand her the mic, and she's going to tell you about a personal encounter.
When BJ handed out Narcan, I never thought that I would use it. I had some in my purse, but I've carried it for what, 2 years now. And I don't know anybody on drugs. The other day I was coming down US 19 on my scooter and I saw someone laying in the grass. And I said, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And there was no response. And I had the Narcan in my purse and I thought, maybe they're just hot. Maybe I should just go on and ignore them. But I didn't. I got the Narcan out and thought it's worth a shot. I didn't know if they were alive. And she had also warned us that when people come up, they're sometimes hostile. So I got off my scooter and sort of moved over as much as I could. I used the Narcan. The man came to life. And I said, "I'm going to go get help," because I couldn't call from along the street because you can't hear on the phone when you're with the cars going by. So I left and I saw the ambulance leave for him. So I don't know how he is, but I know he was alive when I left. I never thought I'd been. But in the moment, I was able to handle it. So hopefully he recovered.
That's good.
We've had the Narcan in our phone for how many years now? How long does it last? I mean, we're worried about the expiration on it.
Narcan is good for at least 2 years. And on the packages that I hand out, there are instructions for use as well as the expiration date is on the bottom of each box. If yours has expired, I will say this. It's kind of like the grocery industry where they have their expiration dates. Do you really think I pay attention to that? My nose is the best indicator of whether something is good. It is better to use what you have because an individual and businesses are covered under the Florida Good Samaritan law. They can try and sue you if they want. And no one has actually even tried, and you are covered, you are protected. And in this county, they love to tell me that I'm the only legal drug pusher in the world. So you'll see me anywhere and everywhere. If a new business opens, I'm there because it is so urgent for us to allow people to have an opportunity to rehabilitate. I thank you, Bonnie. That was a personal story. You don't like speaking in public, but when one hears a personal story, it's more impactful. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Rosemary Nillis, and I want to thank all of our candidates and support staff, the library staff, and of course our audience members for being here today. Just another successful show of what we do. And I hope you're all seeing us as League of Women Voters members around town, around the county, where we table as often as we're asked to. We'll show up even if you don't invite us, maybe. But I hope you're seeing us around because that's our job, is to be present, to educate, and to make sure our citizens are engaged and involved. We take that role very seriously. And so you're seeing us around, but one place we would like to be seen more is at your organizations. You all probably belong to a couple of other groups who have meetings. We have a speakers bureau. It's a statewide speakers bureau, and we have it here in Citrus County. Vicki is our chair, and you know her email. She puts it everywhere. But we are available to come. We're good for 10 minutes. We're good for 45 minutes. You tell us. I'm part of the State Speakers Bureau, as is Vicki, and we have a whole menu of presentations. So probably the hot one right now, 2 hot topics, getting ready to vote and the constitutional amendments. The League is preparing, working. Just got more emails and texts this morning. There's a couple ladies who are working very seriously, very cautiously, because the language is very, very important. And the League very carefully make sure that that wording is accurate and neutral. So we have a presentation
that will be ready, probably late this month. And we're available to come to you. We can do it live. We can do it via Zoom. We can make it short and sweet, or we could talk more about it if you'd like. So I wanted to tell you about that. We do have a flyer. We don't just talk about voting and elections. We've got some other great presentations, but how about the voting rights for returning citizens? Which, by the way, I think it's on your reminders about our July 25th event. But we also have civics, the U.S. Constitution, the First Amendment, just heard that one, immigration, disinformation, and since the topic of public education came up, we have one called Why Public Schools Matter and Understanding School Choice. Our presentations are constantly being updated. Something new passes in Florida or federally, we change it. And people who work on it know that they're expected to do that. Okay, on that note, there's one more education handout for you. We didn't give it to everybody, but this is from the League of Women Voters Education Action Team, Florida, of which I'm an active member. And for years, we've been following, advocating. We do advocate. I didn't say, oh, yeah, we educate, but we advocate on issues of importance. And certainly voting in elections is one of our it is our primary topic in an election year. But education is also one of our 4 priorities. And this little handout tells you a little bit more about the taxpayer-funded scholarships that really aren't accountable to the taxpayers. We really don't know what those kids who are getting the scholarships are doing. We're lucky here in Citrus. We've got some really good private schools. The rest of Florida, not so lucky. So I just wanted to call your attention to those 2 things. And thanks again.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm not going to let you get away with that. Sorry. I can't let her get away with that. If you look at the things that are being provided, they're being provided because Rosemary is the co-chair for the state of Florida. And I've been involved with the Speakers Bureau for several years. And with her leadership, people from all over the state are making her crazy, sending her all these PowerPoints. And the Speakers Bureau is the best that it has ever been.
Because it's not just one person. What it is brilliant minds and hard workers across Florida, like Vicki.
Just take a comment.
Everything's better. Right. Thank you.
One more quick thing, because all these candidates want to talk to their constituents, maybe future constituents.
I'll be really quick. Sorry, I just forgot to say this. The letter is written from you as an individual, not from the local league or the state league. And if you belong to any organization that you think might be interested in signing on as an organization, go ahead and show them the letter and the information, and then they certainly may do that.
Yeah. Just like Don said, which was not copyrighted, just spread it around. 2 Saturdays coming up. One of them is July 25th. How many of you are aware of what's happened with convicted felons in Florida, that they have been having a big problem getting their voting rights back? Cecile Schoon, who is past president of the Florida League, is going to be speaking. There's going to be food. Please go. And our next meeting will be Saturday, August 8th, where Dr. BJ is going to talk to us about voting rights. Yes.
The educational portion of that on the 25th starts at 9 and lunch is provided, but then there's a second event.
Yes.
That's a Vixen sip. It's just going to be kind of like wine and some snacks.
Wine?
Yes. Some snacks. Anybody that wants to come right here, Cecile.
Yes, that would be a nice opportunity. Thank you all for coming. Hope to see you all real soon.